was trying to think of all of the media members that we've had on the show here and who might be the most excited for the start of basketball season. And this guy's in the top 3. Scottie Bordelon from the Democrat Gazette and WholeHogSports joining us here at a really good column yesterday with 15 predictions for Arkansas basketball for the upcoming season. That's a lot of predictions, Scottie. I mean, usually somebody would try to do 5, 6. Why'd you come up with 15, and how long did that take? Because that's a lot.
Yeah, I'll be real honest with you. I started about a month ago trying to come up with some preseason content, to roll out, maybe a day or two before the season opener, and that's kind of when the brainstorming started. But I came up with 15. I tried to do 5 team predictions, and then I tried to do a prediction on each guy that I think might have a pretty good role in the rotation.
Well, there's also the idea here, and SmackDown had asked me earlier in the show, like, what am I most excited about watching, at least in tomorrow's game or early in the season? And I really can't pick anything because there's so much. There's so much newness on this team that I guess the thing that I'm most interested in watching is just seeing how we just lost.
I guess we lost
last year.
Oh,
he's back.
So you might need to repeat yourself. We lost you for a second.
Yeah,
so
your entire question needs to be repeated.
I got to ask that again. All right, my whole thing here is that I'm most excited in watching what Muss does with all these chess pieces that he didn't have at his disposal last year. Like, if I was going to pick one thing, that would be it, which is a very broad answer, but I think that speaks to the newness of this team.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think one of the things that I'm most eager to watch is just how these 10 newcomers who only have just a few months, under their belt playing with each other, how they kind of coexist and they, how they mesh together. If I had to pick something that I'm really most excited about, it's probably a mixture between J.D. Notae and Vance Jackson. J.D. is a guy that I'm pretty high on. I think you could probably tell that from the predictions column. I think he's, he might lead Arkansas in scoring, if you ask me, but if not, he might be number 2. He's really exciting to watch with the ball in his hands. He's tough for defenders to keep in front, and he extended his range, during his development year last year. He's a guy that can fill it up in bunches, and I think Vance Jackson, doesn't have the all-around game that I think the J.D. Notae does offensively, but that guy can bomb it. He can really shoot it, and I think early, in the summer, I guess not, maybe early when the team got together in July, Vance was, I think it was reported that he shot like 70 of 79 from 3 in a practice.
Wow. Like
that. You love to hear that. Vance is a guy that I'm really intrigued by. So it's probably those 2 guys that I'll be watching pretty closely on Wednesday.
Well, one of your predictions is that Notae is amongst the top 2 leading scorers. Who do you think would be the other leading scorer for Arkansas?
It could very well be Moses Moody. I think that kid his skill set is beyond his years. His maturity is off the charts. I think his basketball IQ is the same way. He's so smooth. His jumper's smooth as silk, and I think he's a guy that can score at all 3 levels, kind of like J.D. Notae can. And one thing I think we saw from Moses that maybe not a lot of us expected, just watching the highlights that would trickle out of practices, is that the kid can really finish off offensive rebounds above the rim, and make some highlight plays there. Those kind of plays, I think we could probably see plenty of that from Moses. I think he could probably make a run at the All SEC freshman team this year. As long as he's committed on the defensive end too.
Scottie Bordelon here with us on Halftime. Scottie, one of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing with this team is how Coach Musselman and this staff will bring Connor Vanover into the fold. Because, you get a unicorn basically with a 7'3" forward that has the stroke of a Dirk Nowitzki, but he's got the size to get in there. Maybe not necessarily to do some damage inside in the paint, but you can never beat having a 7'3" frame. So how do you see Musselman, David Patrick, and this crew trying to bring Connor Vanover into the fold?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, I wanted to ask Eric Musselman about Connor Vanover yesterday because we know he missed, close to 3 weeks in the preseason when Arkansas was really grinding and trying to get in shape, with lots of conditioning, and he missed a good chunk of that. So we don't know exactly his readiness or how much time he's going to see, maybe in this, maybe Wednesday or in the first 2 games. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. I think they're going to probably use him a lot in pick and roll on offense, drag the opposing 5-man away from the rim. And something that struck me a couple of weeks ago was somebody asked J.D. Notae what he thinks could be a strength of this team on offense. He said this team's really good, cutting back door, cutting to the rim. And, anytime you can drag Vanover's man away from the rim and you got active cutters and guys who are good off the ball, without the ball, that's going to be pretty big. I'm really curious to see, to track Vanover's usage rate, just like how much he's emphasized when he is in the lineup, and see which spots he's best at on the floor. That's going to be really fun to track. I think he's going to improve, obviously, throughout the season. He's a little bit under his weight goal. I think he wanted to be at about 245, and we talked to him a few weeks ago. He was somewhere around 230. So he's got to get in better game shape and, add a little bit of that strength back.
Sometimes you can't beat experience for this team, and obviously there's not a lot of experience returning to this team. I mean, you got 2 returning players basically off last year's team, and Ethan Henderson, and probably the most notable one is Desi Sills. And he really found success last season coming off the bench, and really towards the latter part of the season found a lot of success doing so. Do you think that's something that'll carry over into this season, or do you think he'll start being the starting lineup just based solely off of experience and basically the leader of this basketball team?
Yeah, I think to start, I think he's probably going to be among the 5 that hit the floor first on Wednesday. But if he goes out and he doesn't play as well as Eric Musselman kind of expects him to, I would not be surprised at all if on Saturday he's coming off the bench. I think I was looking this up the other day. In the 8 games that Desi came off the bench last year, he averaged like 14 points and shot over 55% from 3, which is outrageous. And in the 24 games he started, I think he averaged somewhere around 9, but he was so much less efficient from 3. I think he was somewhere around 25%. So I think, I expect Desi to come out and play. I think that probably should have been one of my predictions, is that Desi's going to be a little bit more of a consistent scorer. His effort is going to be a lot more consistent. That's a guy that really attacked the offseason, really bet on himself, and he saw all these new offensive weapons come in this season. He was like, if I want to have a vital role in this team, I've got to really step my game up and work to be in that top group of offensive weapons. And I think he is that coming into this season. He's a guy I'm really excited to watch, and I really think you're going to see a more consistent Desi, all around this season.
Well, I think it's going to be a fun basketball season for both the men's and women's teams, and we'll certainly be paying very close attention. And you do a great job covering basketball, Scottie, and so, of course football too, but I think you got a specialty in basketball, and would love to have you on again as the season gets kicked up next month.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, Phil.
You got
Thanks,
it. Have
Scottie.
a great Thanksgiving. Scottie Bordelon from the Democrat Gazette and Whole Hog Sports.